This is Bad Movies We Love, part of the Shice Podcast Network.
If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
Hello, Bad Movie lovers, and welcome back to NicVember here at Bad Movies We Love, where we are currently celebrating the many films of Nicolas Cage. And in no small coincidence, I am your host, Nick Scheist.
The master of this stupid stuff!
Here at Bad Movies We Love, one person's trash is our treasure. So, if you like what you hear, make sure you hit follow or subscribe so that you never miss an episode. And you can also help out by leaving a rating and a review, especially if you've ever heard me mention the name of one of these movies and said to yourself, wait, this movie doesn't suck, this movie rules. Because those reviews help more weirdos like us find the show. And if you're able and you want to support the show with a monetary contribution, what you can do is go to badmovieswelove.captivate.fm/support. Yes, I know that's a mouthful, but that link is in the show notes, so sign up to become a card-carrying member of the Resistance members-only tier, and you'll get access to the bonus episodes like Beahan Sci-Fi Con and Bad Movie Futures. You'll also get an invite to the Discord chat. You will get an automatic thank you gift with a sticker pack in it. You'll get automatically entered into all future giveaways, and we just did a giveaway for Halloween for $50 worth of physical media gift cards. And you'll automatically get any other exclusive episodes that get added to that feed. Plus, that $5 gets spent on things like music licensure, which I buy from real musicians selling their music in the marketplace. So your money doesn't just help me, it helps another independent creator out there as well. If any of that sounds good to you, please consider signing up. And if you can't help monetarily, that's okay. Just please share an episode that you love with a friend and tell them, check out Bad Movies We Love. All right, let's get to the episode because this one has been in the vault for a while. I initially recorded it back in July. It was the first one for NicVember that I knew was going to be part of the program. And I was joined by the wonderful Bethany Summersizzle from Aliens on Fire to talk about one of Nick Cage's most infamous performances in LaBute's 2006 remake of The Wicker Man. Raw dog Wicker Man.
I saw it 17 times at the movie theater. That's a lot.
God bless that someone is so in their own skin that they're willing to do that.
He puts everything into what he does, like whether people like it or not.
All this stuff is really fascinating. And I feel like this cop is kind of being a dick.
Bro, please, not the bees.
I'm like, he's lucky he didn't end up in a bloody burlap bag like that other guy.
Maybe she was normally nude, but they wanted the rating to be, PG-13, so they covered her in bees.
Had a little bit too much like honey mead, and now she's just tripping.
You shouldn't do that.
Melody!
I think it's, yeah.
How'd it get burned? How'd it get burned? How'd it get burned? How'd it get burned?
I don't know!
I am joined today by probably the best guest I possibly could have found for this movie. And we'll get to that in a second. But Bethany from Aliens on Fire is here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you here. And I think things just sort of lined up in the sense that I know you were sharing a video from Return to Oz, which I've covered on this show. And so that's kind of how we started chatting a little bit. And I'm always looking for new people to talk to here. And I was like, well, if you like Return to Oz, then we probably like some similar stuff, or at least kind of operate on the same frequency. So I wanted to reach out to you and see if you'd do the show. And we kicked around some ideas and we landed on this one. But before we get there, I want to give you a chance to introduce yourself to my audience that may not know who you are.
All right. Well, hey guys, I'm Bethany Summersizzle, and I am part of Aliens on Fire. I am one half of Aliens on Fire. My assistant Timmy is not here right now. So basically, right now, I mean, it's kind of hard to tell what the future may hold, but right now we just kind of like do reviews and reactions to kind of retro movies and things from like our childhood, things that maybe, you know, people around our age might enjoy, but just kind of like classic films. We also really like so bad that they're good movies. That's one of the things that we're trying to concentrate on right now. It's just like they may not be the best film, but you're going to have a great time watching it. You're going to laugh maybe at the wrong moments. So we have a lot of that on our channel. And then we're going to do some other stuff as well. But I like to say Aliens on Fire is an experience because we're very chaotic and we do eventually get to the topic, but we get distracted and we love to have a good time. So we're just crazy. Crazy and chaotic is what we are.
But you have fun doing it. And, you know, I'm a subscriber to the YouTube channel, so I've had the opportunity to watch some of your stuff and to learn a little bit about you as well. But just a follow-up question from that, like, where did Aliens on Fire come from? I know I saw a video of you talking about like the launch of the channel and what you're looking to accomplish, but you were a performer before starting the YouTube channel. So like, how did everything sort of get condensed into the identity of being a YouTube show?
So I never thought about ever doing anything on YouTube. Aliens on Fire came from an inside joke. This is going to be like another thing that we're going to discuss later on, another inside joke. But this inside joke was when I was a kid, somebody, I don't even know who it was asking me, what are your two worst fears? And I said, aliens and fire. And then they were like, what about Aliens on Fire? And I said, well, if I ever have a heavy metal band, that's going to be the name of the group. And it was just done after that. It was like, I don't know. I was like a kid. It was just like one of those things. And when me and Timmy met, we actually met at a Tim Burton event. It was called Burton Ball. We were both Beetlejuice, so it was already meant to be. He is a great Beetlejuice, by the way. But anyways, we got to talking and we obsessed over films together. And I was like, oh my God, like, what are we going to do? Because at first I was like, I don't really want another film YouTube channel, like where we just review films or whatever. Maybe we could do true crime or something like that. You know, I was thinking of all these other things and I was like, well, what am I going to call it? What am I going to call it? And I was like, you know what? Let's just stick to movies because that's what we know and that's what we love. And why don't we call it Aliens on Fire? And he was like, sure. What is Aliens on Fire? And I was like, don't worry about it. We're going to just call it Aliens on Fire. So that's kind of where it came from. I literally have a notebook of pages and pages and pages of me writing down channel names and they just weren't working. And I was like, Aliens on Fire.
Yeah, I mean, at some point you just pick one and move forward and then there's no looking back. And here you are.
And here we are. Yes.
So when it was launched in 2024, right?
Yeah, around Halloween. I think it was we posted our first videos. We had 2 videos. I think it was October 30th or something like that. So yeah, we're coming up on our 1-year anniversary soon.
Yeah, and by the time that this episode actually hits the air, it will be right after the anniversary. So nice. You'll be officially a year old as a channel by the time that people are hearing this. So congratulations in advance.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we put up with each other for this long. I think we can do it 20 more years.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you enjoy doing it, then keep doing it. wherever it takes you. I wish you the best of luck on the journey, but we will continue to talk about the show and talk about some of your experiences. But do you want to do the honors, since you are the guest of honor, and introduce the audience to today's movie?
Today, we are discussing 2006, The Wicker Man.
That is right. It's Neil LaBute's remake of the 1973 film. Although it's a remake, and it's also an incredibly different film than the original. And he wrote the screenplay, which was based on the original screenplay by Anthony Shaffer. And because we are celebrating NicVember, talking Nicolas Cage films, obviously this movie stars Nicolas Cage, and this performance sort of lives in infamy. Also stars Ellen Burstyn, Lily Sobieski, and then there's some like really small cameos, like Aaron Eckhart is right in the beginning of this movie for a brief moment as a bar patron. And then we have Jason Ritter and James Franco popping in at the end as also bar patrons, I think. So it's a good cast.
Most importantly, Molly Parker from Deadwood.
Yeah. So really, really solid cast overall. I want to ask you, when did you first see this movie? Were you like in the swing of watching the crazy shit Nick Cage was doing in 2006? Or is this something where you were a fan of the original and came to this one later?
So I was a kiddo, so I didn't honestly know that much about Nick Cage's work until like later on. So I'm a little ashamed to say that I was like, already a fan of his, and that's not why I saw the movie. But I do remember exactly the time, place, everything, because I saw it with my mom and some friends, and we saw it at the movie theater. And I don't know if you want me to go into like the explanation of
that's up to you,
because this is where it happened.
Okay.
So basically my experience seeing The Wicker Man, we were at the movie theater with my mom and some friends, and there's that moment, where he's looking at the letter from his ex, and you see the Summersizzle stamp, and they say Summersizzle and whatever, but it didn't click to me for some reason. I in my mind was pronouncing it Summersizzle, like ISLE, like Issel, not Isle. And so I just randomly, I was like, Summersizzle, that's a weird name for a town. And my friend next to me, who had actually seen the original movie, was like, Isle. That ISLE is not Issel, it's Isle. And I was like, oh, okay. Still weird, but whatever. So my friends after the movie, they were like, Sister Summersizzle, Bethany Summersizzle. And that became like a nickname. And then when I became a performer later on, I do like circus arts and things like that. I just used that. Once again, it was kind of like with the Aliens on Fire. I was like, why not? It was already out there in the universe. Like, just use Bethany Summersizzle. So it all came because I don't know what ISLE means.
But you do now, and you gained a stage name out of it. So I think,
and then I added the Z's.
Yeah.
I added the Z's just so that the Izzle was like more apparent. But anyways, so that's how that happened.
And did I understand you correctly when we were chatting that you have the letter, the original letter from the film?
I do.
And you have it framed as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't expect you to see this, but right here is what I saw was the the Summersizzle or God, listen to me. Now I'm saying Summersizzle. Summer's Isle on the letter. And yeah, this is actually the movie prop from the movie.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so where did you get that? How did you get that?
My fiance got that for me, I believe for Valentine's Day. I want to say it's Valentine's Day. I might be getting that wrong, but it was one of the first gifts he got for me. And because he knew the story and everything about my name. And somehow he got it, and I opened it and I just started crying. Like I was bawling because I was just like, wow, like this means so much more than just like, this is one of my favorite movies, which by the way, this is one of my favorite movies, if you didn't know. It means so much more because it's like kind of how I started my career. And then even though I don't perform that much anymore, I still use the name. So it's still, I never let go of that. So that's how I got that. He just like got it for me.
Well, that's very sweet.
Yeah.
It's very thoughtful.
Literally one of the best things I can ever imagine anybody getting me.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you know, in terms of this movie being one of your favorites, I think you're probably on a short list of people who have this among their favorites. However, it has gained a lot of cult notoriety. It was, made internet famous for what some people will say is unintentional humor, and we'll get to that. But first, we're going to go to the tail of the tape because we need to see the numbers on this, and it has an IMDb score of 3.8, pretty low. Metascore of 36 is right in line with that. Rotten Tomatoes critic score 15%. Audience score 17%. A little bit better. Letterboxd is 2 out of 5. And Google has a 60% user positive score on this. So all of those numbers are lower than things that I typically would have expected for this movie. I thought it had a big enough cult following. There's a giant fly that just flew right onto the computer, but
no worries.
It's been trapped in here. I don't know what it wants.
It wants the honey.
It does.
You might have to be sacrificed.
Oh God, I hope not. I didn't bring the swatter. So this movie ends up with a Bad Movies We Love total score of 34.3 out of 100. So definitely on the lower side of the scale, but that makes me more excited to talk to you about it because you really do love it. And this isn't a show where we come here to, punch down. This is where we really talk about all the things that we love about this movie. So were you aware of like how bad its reputation was?
No, not until I was older. So I don't know. I do know why I really like the movie. I mean, I love folk horror just in general. Like, I love culty stuff. I think it's just so fascinating. It's so creepy to me. I think when I was younger and I saw it, obviously I had an experience because like there was, my friends and we, just the way we saw it together. I think a lot of times your first experience with a movie kind of like shapes how you feel about the movie in general. So as I got older, it's like I still couldn't figure out, and honestly, I'm not even gonna lie, till this day I can't figure out why people don't think this movie is like really good. But I can kind of I literally had to look at, which was heartbreaking, I had to look at some movie reviews to see what people didn't like about the movie. And so yeah, it was like, I guess when I got older and I started showing people the movie and I was like, you got to see this amazing movie that I love so much. And that I'm sure there's a lot that are on that same like level that I've probably showed people that people are like, wow, okay, she doesn't know what a good movie is. But, just getting feedback from people that would watch it with me. And it was basically the same thing I was hearing from these movie reviewers. It was the it kind of now I did see the original, but I cannot remember that much about it because I've only seen it like once. So yeah. But I think that people feel kind of duped because they set up a lot of scenes throughout the movie and you're like, oh, something's going to happen. But then it doesn't really, it's like, okay, why is he having like all these extra visions of things? Like, why is all this other stuff happening? Like, oh, something is going to come from this. Oh, he has to go to the barn or whatever because he hears like a girl laughing. But then he goes there and nothing really happens. He just like, it's like there's all this like it's not jump scares, but it's at the same level of a jump scare where you're expecting something to happen. It doesn't. Everybody's fucking with him on the island. By the way, am I allowed to cuss? Because
you're good to go. It's totally fine.
Okay. Everyone is really messing with him on the island, and I love that. I think that it really adds to the movie, but people are just like, well, once they've seen the entire movie, they're like, well, what was the point of all that? They could have just like knocked him out and done the whole thing that they needed to do, and that would have been it. Why all this buildup? Well, it was for the audience. I believe it was for the audience, and it was to make us think something was happening that wasn't really necessary. So maybe people just felt kind of duped by all that.
Yeah, I think that might be fair. How old were you when you saw this?
I was a teenager.
Okay. No, I'm just curious because I know
a young teenager.
For myself, like a lot of the movies that ended up being like my favorite movies started sort of like when I was beginning to make my own decisions about the kind of movies I wanted to see. Because obviously, like growing up, like we see what our parents will allow us to see or what our parents decide to show us in a lot of cases. And so I'm fortunate that, well, maybe I'm fortunate that my mom was like, here, watch The Omen and Rosemary's Baby when I'm like 8 years old. So it's like probably not a great decision. I'm watching RoboCop when I'm 5. That's not probably smart. But at the end of the day, like a lot of those movies are what shaped my tastes and I think have stuck with me for a long period of time. So I'm just curious for you, like, was this one of those movies that you found at the time when you were beginning to like discover your own likes?
So I can kind of relate because I was never like sheltered or anything from movies. You're going to see my cats, by the way. I'm sorry, fine. They're just like running all over the place. I was never like sheltered from movies. In fact, my dad like worked near a Walmart, and I would go over to the like video store or whatever. Yeah, I do know a video store. Yeah, I'm old enough to know what a video store is, and I would go there and I would just look at all the covers and like I was like 5, like I was pretty young, but I would always just like pick out what seemed like the most gruesome, like crazy thing that I could ever see, and my mom never told me no. Like she was just like, okay, like she would have to get it for me, but she just like never told me no.
That's cool. So, I mean, she probably figured if it disturbed you, you were not going to go back to that section and continue to rent movies. So
no, she didn't care. I went back. I honestly, I don't know. I feel like horror is the reason that I'm so lost when it comes to pop culture because I don't, besides like Clueless, and then there's like a few other like movies from the 90s that I remember. It's like I mainly remember like horror movies from like the 70s, 80s, like 90s, like I know a lot of horror. So yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of the other movies that we chatted about as options. I think they're all horror films, which is totally fine. I cover horror films on the show, and by the time that we get to the end of this, assuming that you've enjoyed yourself, I will, of course, offer you the opportunity to come on and talk about a horror film of your choosing that is not a Nick Cage movie specifically. You can pick whatever you want. But let me take a moment here and set the table with some production notes for the Wicker Man remake. So Universal Pictures had been pretty much eyeing a remake of The Wicker Man since the 90s. By 2002, Neil LaBute and Cage's Saturn Films production company were attached to the project. Meanwhile, the original film's director, Robin Hardy, and star Christopher Lee were developing their own spiritual sequel, which was, at the time, The Riding of the Laddie, which would later become The Wicker Tree. And Hardy's version aimed for a Scottish setting and cast Vanessa Redgrave and Sean Astin, but that stalled in development. And LaBute's version, meanwhile, moved the story to modern-day America after shifting from Universal to Millennium Films, and production began in Vancouver in 2005, with Warner Brothers later handling distribution through Alcon Entertainment. The movie opened on September 1st, 2006, in almost 3,000 venues and earned $9.6 million in its opening weekend, ranking third in the U.S. box office. The film closed November 16th, 2006, after 11 weeks, grossing $23.6 million in the U.S. and $15.1 overseas, for a worldwide total of $38.8, which came in under its budget of $40 million. However, its legacy is still an interesting one. The original director of the original Wicker Man, I should say, distanced himself from the Hollywood remake, even having Warner Brothers remove his name from the marketing, and he criticized the decision to even credit him as a writer, despite not receiving credit for the original movie as a writer. And Christopher Lee, who was also a star of the 73 film, disapproved, saying remakes of such iconic films just don't make sense. And the star of this film, Nicolas Cage, later embraced the film's bizarre reputation, calling it absurd and suggesting it had a mischievous script all along. In a 2012 fan Q&A, he even floated the idea of revisiting The Wicker Man, this time as a ghost in a Japanese horror film, which sounds awesome. The film's most infamous scenes, of course, Cage being tortured by bees and discovering charred dolls, live on as viral internet memes, further cementing the film's cult legacy.
Yeah.
So despite its, perceived failures at the box office, like, this movie still went on to be a film that is very fun to talk about. And of course, a lot of that is people punching down. And I think especially during this period of Cage's career, he was taking on more and more projects that seemed to be, like, quote unquote bad. So a lot of what he was sort of famous for at the time was, like, his big freakouts. It's like people forgot that he was an Oscar winner, an Oscar nominee before that, had really done a lot of, like, interesting smaller character roles up until the time that he became a superstar in the mid 90s. And so, like, his career trajectory sort of took on its own identity when the internet and social media started to become, like, a broader thing in the mid 2000s. And so this movie, like, got a second wind all of a sudden with the internet. And so for someone like me, I saw it probably on cable. I don't remember going to the theaters to see it, but it had been a long time for me in between watches. And so I was curious for you, like, when was the last time that you watched this movie?
Well, I rewatched it because we were doing this discussion. So last night was the last time. And funny enough, I found things that I feel like this happens no matter how many times I've seen a movie. I will find things that I haven't noticed before. So it was really good to rewatch it.
Yeah, I rewatched it last night as well. And then I had never seen the original. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to double down. I'm going to watch the original as well. So it was a nice little back-to-back feature because it gave me more context for what the remake is doing differently than the original and why people might have a large problem with it. Mm-hmm. There is a culture out there of, like, you should never remake anything. And the fact that a remake is even breathed into existence, it's automatically put in like a subcategory where people will not respect it. And it's very difficult to do, especially I think with movies that have good reputations. You know, I think there's a whole crop of movies out there that were like totally middling kind of movies that probably deserve remakes, that were maybe 30 years too early for the kind of technology that should be used to make a movie like that. Remake those kind of movies now. Don't go back. You don't have to remake classics. So I understand a little bit of where it comes from, but this movie's existence does not erase the original film. It doesn't erase like the impact of the original film. It doesn't erase the people that love the original movie. It's like it's almost like it's a completely different idea. And I think that's what people really struggle to grapple with this film in particular.
I think that, like, okay, so basically the script is pretty, like, well, I mean, there obviously are different things, but I mean, the flow of it is pretty much the same as the original. I think with this one, if I can recall, because like I said, I only saw the original like once, so I can't remember exactly. But with this one, I think there's more music. There's more just like kind of like build up to certain scenes and things like that. So maybe I've heard people say that it's a little bit more entertaining than the original. I probably should have watched that. I probably should have watched the original again too before this, but I do remember a little bit from it, and they both serve a purpose. But I do think that this one, it's like, I don't know, and I don't know if you know that the Angelo, I can't say his last name, but he did a lot of like David Lynch music and everything like that. So he actually did the music for this. Like he did a lot of music for like David Lynch movies.
I mean, I feel like,
and I like the music.
The music is good. It's very different than the original film in the musical identity of the original film, I think, puts it borderline into like musical territory. Like there's entire segments where like we're gonna have the entire song, and it happens like 3 or 4 times, and I'm like, okay, there's more music in this than there is in All That Jazz, and people think All That Jazz was a musical. So I'm willing to entertain the idea that the original Wicker Man is a British musical. And I think one of the big divides too is the fact that this version of the film was Americanized. And that takes it so far away from like the British roots of it that I could see that upsetting people that are very much into like the British folk horror of that era. But in the notes, I had given you a heads up. We do synopsis haikus here on the show to give people a little taste of what this movie is about. So I'm curious, did you do a haiku?
I did.
Awesome. Well, you're the guest of honor, so I'm going to let you go first, but I've got one too, so.
All right, here we go. Bitches be lying. Punching them is really cool. Bro, please, not the bees.
I don't even want to go now because that was fun. That was really good.
I was just kind of like, no, this is it. Yeah, like, what do I think about when I think about this movie? Him punching bitches and bees.
No, that's awesome. I should have gone first. But okay. So no boys on the aisle, just whispers, masks, and fire. He came. He got burned. Not nearly as fun. I'm okay with it, but I mean, I'm glad you delivered the goods.
No, I like yours as well. I think that it should just be together. It should be like a double haiku.
Well, fortunately, I can just edit out that middle part and they'll be right back to back. So after we do haikus, I want to ask you, in terms of why you would suspect that people think this is a bad movie? I know you've gotten direct feedback on this. So what is the general rumor out there as to why this is a bad movie?
So one of the first things I feel that people think this is a bad movie is because of the overacting. So there's like moments where, and we can just like chalk it up to just Nick Cage being himself or whatever, but there's like those overacting moments, and I feel like it's kind of like with movies like Knock Knock or The Room, where it's like, there's just like moments where things are just over exaggerated, and I think that people just when they think something is like embarrassingly, if that's a word, embarrassingly funny, like they'll just automatically think that that's like really bad. And then let's see. I actually was like thinking about this. Let's see. I think like when he's like punching like when he's like punching the ladies, and especially at the end, and he's making such a big deal about I'm a cop, and like when he comes into the classroom, even like with Sister Rose, and he's just like, he erases everything on the board, and he just like writes Rowan's name, which that didn't make any sense to me. It's so funny when I rewatched it last night. Like I said, I always see something new. I was just kind of like, did he need to erase everything on the board just to write Rowan Woodward?
He did not. He did not.
So once again, just kind of like the overacting, I guess, is maybe what kind of like makes this as, I wouldn't say like once again, I don't think it like bad movie, but maybe just there's unintentionally like funny moments, once again hitting the women the way he does. And then also the bees part, which I know that that's like in the unrated version and whatever, but that's not supposed to be funny, but it's funny because of the way he's reacting to it. So yeah, I think that that's why a lot of people think that it's bad. It's really hard trying to figure out why people think a movie that you really like is bad when you really like the movie. So I'm just trying to think of like reasons why people would think that it's bad.
That's fair. And one of the phrases that I've come across a lot was unintentionally funny. And we're going to circle back to that because I think that is the subject of some debate as the movie entered maybe reappraisal, or at least began to be discussed again once the internet sort of put it on this pedestal as an example of like one of the best bad movies ever made. There were more questions being asked about the movie then than when it was initially released in 2006. It was like, oh, it's just a box office failure, whatever, let's be done with it. And then like the internet got a hold of it and made it this thing. And so you have like 2012 range, all of a sudden like there's cast and crew and director interviews asking about the Wicker Man. And that's kind of a crazy thing because 6 years isn't that long, because it's not like a 10-year anniversary. It's not like there was a special re-release of the movie coming out or anything like that. So it just kind of happened organically in a really interesting way. And I think there is value there that maybe people will kind of brush aside. But like I said, this movie is very fun to talk about. And so I'm glad that we're getting a chance to do it. I don't know that I ever would have just naturally ended up at the Wicker Man, because if I gave people just here, pick whichever bad Nick Cage movie you want to talk about, I don't know how many people would have picked this one. So I'm glad you stepped up to the plate.
But no, I immediately was like, I know what I'm gonna talk about. There's also like moments, I was just thinking about it, that are just kind of unnecessary, and I think it goes back to just trying to get a reaction out of the audience, like when there's like so many flashbacks and things. It's like, why is this happening? And I'm sure people that don't like the movie, they're just like, oh my God, why is he having all these these moments, these like flashbacks and things like that. I can understand why that gets a little annoying, but
Well, we'll dive into that a little bit deeper. Right now, I want to take a look at the trailer for this movie and see if it was marketed as being a comedy at all, or if this was sold to us as straight horror. So let me grab that. Before we get to the trailer, it's time for a word from our sponsor. At the end of a long day, when you just need to unwind and free yourself from the trappings of the modern world, you need something old school, something old world. From the community that brought you Wicker Man Home Furnishings comes the best in locally crafted brewing, passed down through generations. It's Summerisle Spiced Honey Mead. On the island of Summerisle, the bees are raised lovingly among sun-drenched orchards for the very best in free-range and pasture-pollinated honey. Once harvested, the raw organic honey is blended with pure island spring water and fermented under the warm guidance of their seasonal festivals. Some even say you can taste the ritual human sacrifice in every sip. So grab yourself a six-pack or a growler while supplies last, or you might find yourself on the wrong end of a bloody burlap sack. Summerisle Spiced Honey Mead. It's the bee's knees. You'll love it, whether you want to or not. And now, back to the show. Okay.
I actually haven't watched the trailer, so this will be fun.
You know, I probably haven't seen it since it was being sold to me the first time, and I was like, well, Nick Cage is in it, so I'm good.
Afternoon.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. I'll get it.
It's an interesting music choice.
I was just thinking that it... Okay. Now the action starts.
Yeah, none of that is in the original.
Edward,
And
I know that we haven't spoken.
there's my letter.
There's the letter,
I
yeah.
need your help.
Did it come with the picture, too?
I have a daughter.
No, unfortunately.
She has
Someone
been
else
missing
bought that.
For 2 weeks now. I fear she is in danger, so now I turn to you. Be careful and believe nothing.
The seaplane
that you see
still
or hear.
plays a large part.
Hey, sorry, snuck up on me there.
This is private property.
Do you know her?
I don't recognize this child.
Welcome.
Very dismissive.
My little
Yeah,
girl is
everybody
still
is so dismissive on this island.
here. She has been taken.
Also, did that
by who
happen?
I don't know.
Yeah, see? One of those moments where she just kind of ghosts. There's the barn scene.
Disappears? Is this a supernatural situation? I bet they're gonna make it more action-packed than it actually is. That's what I'm guessing.
Play.
Give away the punches and the fight scenes.
Who's the Wicker Man?
Oh my god, that was such a bad like where she Ellen Burstyn.
Yes, let's snap zoom in on her several times in order to really make it seem creepy.
I need your help.
Wow. Daddy. A lot to take in.
I didn't realize they dropped the daddy line in the trailer.
Wait, the daddy line, I missed it.
She just went, you hear daddy? Yeah.
I missed
I was
that.
like, that's kind of like a big spoiler there.
Oh my god, that is a spoiler. I didn't even catch that. Is that like the official trailer? Like that's not even just like a
That's the one, I think.
Yeah, I don't know, man, because my big thing is, and I was talking to my fiance about this. I was just kind of like, what? Like, if somebody like from your past hit you up and they were wanting you to like help them find their, I mean, assuming I wasn't in the picture, they were wanting you to help them find this child, and I guess later on he would find out it was hit. I mean, how far would you go Like, because he doesn't even know that it's his in the beginning. So
He does not.
it kind of,
How lovesick is he? Because, like, you know, he lets her know, like, okay, you broke my heart, and you just kind of like left without explanation after I asked you to marry me, kind of thing. So there is this notion that there's unfinished business, and it's clear that he loves this person maybe more than we as the audience are capable of understanding given the circumstances. Because it was just a letter. You know, he doesn't even know that it's actually from her.
No.
So it's a little suspect. And one of the other things that this movie does that the original is not even dabbling in is this notion of PTSD from the car crash itself. He's taking some sort of prescription medication, and he's talking to a cop friend of his that's, you know, asking if it's helping, but he's clearly having issues sort of distinguishing real life from what's going on in his head. You could tell, like, they put him in the sweater, so he looks like he's just kind of depressed and hasn't left the house in a while. And then bam, he's back at the police office with a mission. And that's the motivating thing that gets him out of the house. And I found the investment in the PTSD side of things interesting in the sense that it explains why he has like kind of visions, hallucinations. Like if he really thinks that he saw this girl die and even maybe, you know, almost died himself, had head trauma from the explosion kind of thing. There's so many different things that would make sense for him having hallucinations while he's both on and off the island. However, there's not enough like language surrounding that. I don't think there's ever any explicit acknowledgement of PTSD. And maybe that's for the better because you kind of just trust the audience to know. But in 2006,
you shouldn't do that, especially if like there's a younger crowd that's in there, like teenagers or something. Like you should like trust the audience to just, you know what's going on or anything like that. But
I don't know if there was enough sort of cultural language about what PTSD is in 2006 to be able to talk about it without talking about it, you know?
Right. Absolutely. No, yeah. And then, I don't know if we want to get into this, but it's just even the whole accident, the truck thing in general, like why that even had to happen. I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to skip ahead if you had a certain.
Well, I mean, this is in the very beginning of the movie, but it does come into play later as he tries to recall the events of that day.
Right.
And is struggling to piece together, like, did this even really happen? Was there anybody in the car that day? And if there wasn't, what does that mean? So I feel like a lot of that stuff is sort of like maybe loosely stacked together just to give us as the audience the understanding that he doesn't know what's going on. But I don't think the movie ever tells us directly either. Like, were there ever people in the car? Did he hallucinate the entire thing? Did they pop out the passenger side before the truck got there and he just imagined the rest of it?
It's like, was there some like supernatural shit? Like, where, I mean, I know that wasn't supposed to be the case, but it was just like they just disappeared. Because the cop tells him that the vehicle wasn't registered and there were no bodies found.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he didn't imagine that interaction too, right? So, I mean, we would think, but yeah.
It's tough to say for me, even having just recently rewatched it and like really thought about it a lot because of just the structure of the story. Because aside from that opening incident and then like a couple of other loose, smaller details, it does adhere pretty closely to the original in terms of like arriving at the island, going to the inn, meeting the young girl that is, in this case, maybe the innkeeper's daughter, maybe not, but having a lot of the like the structural tent poles of the movie are still there, but then a lot of the dressing around that is changed because the character is completely changed. And I think that is also one of those things that is going to upset the fans of the original movie to the point where they cannot take this movie, is that so much of the 73 film is actually focused on like the religious aspects of both sides of it, whether that be the Catholicism coming from the cop himself or this other religion that is represented by Christopher Lee, who's Lord Summerisle in the original, and him like spelling out actually a lot of those differences in the religions and why they decided to branch out and do their own thing. And so like kind of it's a huge part of what that story is. And in this, like it's his religious background is replaced with PTSD and the story of his ex-fiance. And so it is brave to kind of untether the idea of the plot points from the character design and then stitch it all back together. And there was like some really big swings in this movie. And it was originally, I think, slated to be a rated R film, but it wanted more broad appeal. So it ends up being PG-13. So you're already taking it probably at least one step away from its ideal identity. And then there's also in the subsequent interviews that happened with, I think, both Nick Cage and the director, both of them acknowledged like the absurdity of the film and the idea that they were trying to capture with the absurdity. Given that hindsight is 2020, I feel like I understand it so much better now than I would have watching it on first viewing. Because if you just go into this and you think it's a straight up horror movie, like the trailer doesn't try to tell you that this is a dark comedy or that there's going to be any funny scenes in it whatsoever. You know, so I could see the curtain being like maybe pulled back a little bit too far, and maybe audiences were like, hey, I was expecting a horror movie and this is kind of like a weird, campy, absurd, dark comedy.
Or there's people, or there's kids, I guess, like me in the audience that are just like, wow, this was amazing. This is like one of the best movies ever.
What were some of your other like favorite films at the time that you had seen this?
Oh, the others. I mean, it wasn't at that time, but I think it was like 2001 or something like that. The others.
Just around that time in your life.
So that movie, I just, to let you know how crazy I was about movies when I was a kid, I saw it 17 times at the movie theater. So anyways, that's a lot.
Whoa.
And I was obsessed with that movie. I don't know. I just was really, really into that movie. Besides that, I liked a lot of older movies. The Shining remains my favorite horror movie of all time. It remains my favorite movie of all time. I think that it is just my favorite movie. And it's funny because they talk about with the Wicker Man too, daytime horror, it's hard to do and make it creepy, and I feel like The Shining does that really well. So I mean, I love Stephen King. I love Pet Sematary. I actually what was the one? Dreamcatcher. I actually really liked that one. Nobody liked that one. That was another one that nobody really liked.
We'll do that one in the future because I also like Dreamcatcher, and I was like, well, I don't understand why people hated this so much, but
yeah, I liked a lot of Stephen King, David Lynch. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to think back because I would obsess over like certain movies, so it's like hard to think about like what other movies were kind of like circling around also during that time, because I was probably also watching like Moulin Rouge and The Mummy Returns. Awesome. And things like which I love The Mummy Returns, by the way. I think it's better than The Mummy, which I'm sure that's controversial.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people would have an issue with that. It's been a while since I've seen those movies. I need to go back and watch them, especially because like Brendan Fraser is having a bit of a resurgence lately. So it might be time for that. But yeah, that's like a whole different episode. Mummy versus Mummy Returns. Wow.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love them. Actually, can I,
Yeah.
how can I show you this without it being here? I'm going to scoot down really, really low, but I have his,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Wow. Commitment.
So that's how much of a fan, the Mummy fan I am.
That's awesome. We could get sidetracked for like a whole separate hour just talking about the Mummy and the Mummy Returns.
Let's get back to the topic, because once again, I will totally make this like a 5-hour.
How long do you record for? Because I know your videos are like edited and cut together, but like as I was watching, I was like, okay, this is maybe like 40 minutes. And then there's a lot of like inner splicing of things. There's a cat running in and out of the room, investigating weird noises in the background. I'm like, I wonder how long the actual recording start to finish was.
Poor Timmy. So we sometimes, most times, film until the sun comes up. So sometimes it will be, we are just like fucking around and doing so many things that he will put into like, I'm like, can you at least make it like under 30 minutes or something, but he will break it down. Sometimes 8 to 10 hours. Like, I mean, and if we're doing a watch party, that could be almost an entire day.
Wow.
Of filming. Yeah. I mean, I give him so much credit because he goes through, and I just have to be the fool in front of the camera, but he goes through and he just chops it all together. And he's been sending me like stuff that we're doing for our next video, and I'm just like, wow, you're awesome. Thank you so much for doing that, because I can't. I mean, I probably could, but I don't want to do that.
Fair. Well, big thank you to all the editors out there that help us put things together. Yeah, it goes a long way. And for me, that's me. But then I do it for some other shows as well, too. So it's like, okay, I know what Timmy goes through. I'll put it that way.
He's like, I'm so sick and tired of seeing your face.
Well, I mean, I'm glad you gave me some behind the scenes tips. It's like, oh, wow, if I really have to edit or if I have to record for 8 hours. I mean, I think when you messaged me this morning, it was like 11 a.m. for you. You said you just got done with work. And I was like, wait a second. I was like, what time is it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's why I wanted to check in and see what time zone you were in, so that we would be on the same page and line it up where it's close enough. Yeah. Here we are. We're on Summer Isle, and the seaplane comes in and that it lands us in the same vicinity. The original movie, like the cop is just like, no, this is my plane. I know how to fly it, everything. So they just like scrub all that, introduce a pilot, introduce all this other stuff that like takes a little bit more time to explain. I understand why they do it, but I think one of my favorite things about this movie is that Nick Cage is trying to get the flight to the island. Mm. He goes up to the old man seaplane captain and he lectures Cage that like, this is a private island, private community. We don't want you, blah, blah, blah. Well, would you do it for $100? Yep, sure thing. I will sell out everything that I just said for $100. And I was like, wow, only $100? I was like, okay, I guess that's not.
Was it not 150? I thought it was 150.
I thought he offered him two $50 bills. Even if it was 150, is that enough to like sell out your private colony? Yeah.
I mean, the guy has to know like what his fate would be if he like.
I know that's what I'm saying. For like, even if it were $150, it seems like he's really rolling the dice, or he must be super desperate.
He must be.
Yeah. And as soon as like Cage lands on the island, like we can tell things are off, right? Even like his sweater vest is kind of a weird costuming choice for a guy who's a cop, but it really sort of makes him seem like this button down pencil pusher when it's like he was a motorcycle cop, which is not a detective. right? So it's a very different skill set in that most of what we see of him as a character in the intro is like him just pulling people over and giving them speeding tickets, or he leaves a parking ticket on somebody's window or something. So for him to be like, okay, my entire plan is to find my former fiance and then investigate the disappearance of this little girl while I'm on psychiatric leave from my job. It's a lot to take on for this character. And I think if that's taken maybe too literally, then it doesn't work with what the story wants to do. But the more I think of this movie wanting to be like an absurdist horror comedy, I'm like, okay, all of this stuff actually kind of makes more sense, because this is a horrible strategic decision on his part to go to this island.
No, absolutely. And he's outnumbered no matter what. I mean, he can act all like big tough cop all he wants, but he's outnumbered. And like a lot of times when he's trying to like, figure out what's going on and whatever, I'm just like, why don't you just like, I guess he doesn't have reception, which this also like confused me because they have a website, right? But
yes,
but they don't have, there's no like reception, or what, he can't use his phone or anything on the island. So I'm just kind of like, I don't really understand that. But I don't know. I would try to like figure out like if there was any way I could get backup or something before I would delve into the, like, he very quickly finds out this is like shady as fuck, like everybody's acting so weird, like from the very beginning, which also does not make sense to me, because it's like if this has been the plan the whole time to use him for this sacrifice, why are they trying to freak him out or whatever? You know what I mean? Like I kind of get what some people think, and that's me trying to really like dig into the silly stuff that this movie has to offer.
Yeah, well, like I'm thinking as I'm just trying to like diagnose the film, like, okay, he's a cop. He knows that the island is off limits. He can't like get a boat there. He has to bribe somebody to get him there. He sneaks on where he like has to walk ankle deep in the water just to get on the island. And then he shows up and he's not even trying to blend in at all. He's not trying to be low key. He's in everybody's face right away. I'm like, he's lucky he didn't end up in a bloody burlap bag like that other guy.
Like the shark.
Yeah, right. Right? Like the first thing you're introduced to is two guys holding like a bloody bag that's just twitching while everybody's kind of laughing at you. And
that's one of my favorite lines, by the way, that he said. He's like, so what is that, a shark or something? I mean, I don't know why. That's like one of my favorite lines that he says.
Yeah, so it's like we see this kind of like ridiculous situation, like the very moment that he first interacts with anybody on the island. It's like, okay, things are weird. This is wild. Your police work is not especially good, and you're already starting to rub people the wrong way with your like imposition of authority that do you even have jurisdiction here? I don't think you do. So if you're not even approaching it like, oh, I'm a private detective that's looking into the case of this missing girl, it's like, I'm a cop, listen to me. And that's one of the things that actually holds pretty true from the original too, is like this feeling of misplaced authority that comes to the island with him. And so Nick Cage being a producer on this film has like a crazy story with this, and that like he's friends with Johnny Ramone. And Johnny Ramone shows him the movie and he had never seen it, and kind of just like playfully nudged him along, like, when are you going to remake The Wicker Man? And then as Johnny Ramone is sick and in the hospital, he's still like, when's The Wicker Man remake coming? And Cage's production company eventually picks it up. So even though his performance, I think, is the thing that so many people hinged their opinions of the movie on, right? That he's so over the top, that it's all unintentional humor. Nick Cage is invested in this movie. he's not half-assing this. Like, he's doing it for a friend who was ill, who wanted to see him do it, and he really wanted to do something interesting and different with the film that the original movie didn't do. And so the more I listen to him talk about it, the more grace that I'm willing to extend to the movie, because I feel like a documentary on like the making of this film would be very interesting, and all of the decisions that went into it, all of the script choices, all of the filming decisions that make this movie feel so much like a Hollywood film of the early aughts, while also pulling all its influences from a 70s British folk horror film that a lot of people hadn't seen. And it's so readily apparent that Neil LaBute, who made the film, was making it for people who had probably not seen the original. So it was like almost making a remake of this thing that nobody was supposed to know about, or at least not his audience for this movie was really supposed to compare it to.
Right.
You want to dive into some trivia now?
Time for
All right, let's go. I'm really bad with trivia, but I have fun with it. So let's do it.
Well, that's the idea. We're just here to have fun with it. And regardless of what happens with the trivia, it's your first time on the show. So we're going to the bonus wheel no matter what. And I did choose my questions carefully so that I feel like you'll have a pretty good chance on at least a couple of them to score some points for the wheel. Okay, so question number 1. How many women does Nicolas Cage knock out during the course of this film?
Is there a timer?
There is not a timer.
Okay, let me just... Man, and then there's also... Okay, so I got my main 3, but then there's like people during like the scene where he's just like giving, once he realizes he doesn't have bullets, he's just like giving it all he has. So then there's guys too, though, that he knocks out. God, I'm just gonna go and say 5.
I think there's 3 ladies, but he does attack 2 guys at the end. He throws a nice roundhouse. Adding a couple because I knew he, he's like, once he realizes he doesn't. So I had 3. You did.
I'm like,
you said
right.
It. No, I think I'll give you full credit for that.
Thank you, because I was like, I know that he knocked out some other people, like when he was freaking out.
Yeah, the first one is Sister Beach, who is the innkeeper, I think. Right. He just runs into the room, clocks her across the face.
What a great scene.
So yeah, scenes like that taken out of context, I think that's what made this movie internet famous. Is like you could just clip 10-15 seconds of this movie at a time, and it's kind of insane. And then after he knocks her out, Lily Sobieski shows up, but I don't think she brought her axe this time to the fight, but she goes for the she goes for the reverse chokehold, and then they get into a bit of a scuffle, and he roundhouse kicks her into the wall and gives her a concussion. And then the third actress, I couldn't find her credit, but she's the one blowing the horn at the altar for the sacrifice ceremony.
What is it, sister? Because he's coming up in the bear outfit.
Mm-hmm. But the bear outfit, oh yeah, that's right. It was Sister Beach's outfit, so she assumes it's Sister Beach. And then we just see like the wide shot of him running in the bear outfit.
Yeah.
Right up to her, left hand, cross, boom. She's down, grabs the little girl and goes. So he's got at least 3 KOs in the course of this movie. And I think
he should have owned it for a while that he was Sister Beach. Like, I wish he hadn't taken off the outfit and he just like kept it on. And he's just like Sister Beach is just going crazy right now.
She's infected with something, and she's wiling out. She had a little bit too much like honey meat, and now she's tripping. Okay, this one's a little bit more difficult, but I found it interesting, so I added it. In the classroom scene that you mentioned, where he erases the board just to write Rowan's name on it, which not really effective, but he erases something on the board, and it is a poem. Do you know what the poem is and who wrote it?
Is it Irish?
It might be. There's something. There's something Irish
I
written at the
knew
top of the
this.
board.
I knew this, and oh my gosh, I'm so mad that I didn't like think about this harder. But no, I actually, because I was like doing a lot of research, and so I thought it was at least like some Irish poem or something like that, but I might be wrong. Eh, I I can't remember what the poem was or who wrote it.
There is a Gaelic saying that is written on the top of the board above the poem itself. But the poem was by William Blake, who is an English poet, and the poem.
I got it. I got it wrong.
The poem is "The Marriage of Heaven and Hell," and it goes, "Once meek and in a perilous path, the just man kept his course along the vale of death. Roses are planted where thorns grow, and on the barren heath sing the honeybees." So it's very dialed into the movie.
And you know what's funny? So the teacher is Sister Rose, and then her twin is Sister Thorn.
Yeah. So I feel like it's very good research on the part of the production crew to like make sure that it was that poem. But the Gaelic saying that is written on the top of the board, I think it is something "the king has no sting." I forgot what the very beginning of it was.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. So I wasn't right anyway. So that's okay.
All right.
Cool.
Well, we're going to go to the third and final question.
Okay.
This movie was nominated for 5 Golden Raspberry Awards. How many of those nominations can you name?
Best couple, best actor, best film.
Well, it was because it's the Razzies, it's the worst, but you've gotten all 3 of those.
Well, you know
far.
what I mean. Yeah. Sorry, I'm saying best.
You want to take a stab at the other 2?
I will. Let's see. Actress and costume design.
No, you did get the other 3 though. It was nominated for Worst Picture, Worst Actor, and Worst On-Screen Couple between Nick Cage and his bear suit.
And his bear suit, I know, 'cause I love that. I don't remember the others.
Yeah, whoever the voters are for the Razzies just basically made one up in order to get it on there one more time. But at least
I thought that was so funny.
It's a cute one. So, I mean, like, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt on that. But yeah, so you ended up getting 4 overall right. So you'll get 4 spins on the wheel. We got new questions on the wheel, too. So you might even get some of those. Before we get to the bonus wheel, though, there is some bonus trivia that I wanted to talk about. One of the questions that was sort of mulling around in my mind was that this was one of 2 2006 movies that earned a cinema score of F. The other one was William Friedkin's Bug with Michael Shannon and Ashley Judd, which I like. And
I love that movie. Okay, so I saw that too.
So that at least Bug later like gained a reputation as being a solid film, where this movie, I guess audiences were like, no, only one of these 2 can be saved, and we're going to save Bug because it's Friedkin. So kind of wild, but I think more interesting is that this movie wasn't screened for critics. So there was never a press screening to get word of mouth out about this movie. And I'm curious if internally there were some concerns that critics were going to be unkind to it. And so they were like, well, we'll just take our chances with no word of mouth versus ending up with like really bad word of mouth before the movie even comes out.
Yeah, I don't
know. But I watched a good number of interviews and read some interviews for some backstory on this. And so there was a Movie Phone interview. If people are old enough to remember Movie Phone, it was you would call in a phone number and basically like push a number to select your local theater, and then the automated voice would just read you movie times, and then you would decide what movie you're going to go to based on this person on the phone. But anyway, so the question was towards LaBute remaking this movie, and he knew that he was taking on something that was very beloved, but he wanted to make a movie for people who were basically unaware of the film, as we talked about. And I think his awareness of the audience that he was making it for definitely shaped a lot of the choices. And in conversations that I read with him and with Nick Cage, they talked specifically about wanting to like make sure that the absurd notions that were on the page came to life. And Cage himself wanted to take a lot of big risk and was interested in taking the movie really far away from the original. So I would be curious to see what like the full director's vision would have been had it been able to be made like as insane as possible.
I can only imagine. I mean, with Nicolas Cage, I mean, he does not hold back, as we know.
He does not. So there was a New York Times interview with Cage where he says I could have had a little more help with the film, and I'm not sure exactly what he's referencing, but he says initially I wanted them to leave me in the bear suit to burn me. That would have made the whole farce of the film more disturbing because of what I was trying to do there. So he's like, do you remember the movie The Mask of the Red Death by Roger Corman? He says Patrick McGee in that film gets tricked into wearing an ape suit and a dwarf throws brandy on it and lights him on fire. So what started as this absurd and comical notion becomes horrifying because insult is added to injury. And in The Wicker Man, I was trying to get this whole trajectory to go along with that absurdity by having them light me on fire in the bear suit. That really would have been horrific. So instead, you know, they strip him out of the bear suit and he's kind of just like in his like shirt. And
Well, he
pants.
takes it off himself, and I didn't really understand why he took it off.
It was hot.
Honestly. I guess it was hot. Yeah.
He had been in that bear suit for a while. He had to run across the island to catch up with the parade after he put the bear suit on, and he was probably exhausted.
True. And then it would have been a lot like Midsummer, though. Like, you know, so I don't know. I mean, obviously they didn't know that movie was coming out, but yeah, it would have been a lot like that if he had just like stayed in the bear suit while he got burned.
Right. And so obviously there is some connective tissue there. And there was an interview with Bloody Disgusting where I think it was John Squires, who I follow on Twitter. So Cage is talking to him. He says, I know people had fun with that, even if they thought the comedy was not intentional. He said, I'm going on record now. That is not a fact. The director and I both knew how funny it was. It probably would have even been more clear how funny it was if Avi Lerner let me have the handlebar mustache that I wanted to wear and be burned in the bear suit. That would have been so horrifying, but they didn't go for that at all because the comedy would have emerged from the horror. So I think the studio wanted it to be like as traditionally horror labeled as possible. Right. And Cage goes on to say, but Ari Aster did it brilliantly in Midsummer. That was terrifying, but they didn't have the vision that Neil and I had for it. Aster's Midsummer indeed ends with one of the main characters being burned alive in a bear suit. And in line with Cage's own personal vision for the finale of Wicker Man. And the producers just weren't really interested in the movie going that direction. But, you know, these big, crazy choices, and Cage being a producer, like you think he would have as much sway as possible.
Yeah.
LaBute says of him in an interview he did with Kim Morgan for the New Beverly, he says, but God bless that someone is so in their own skin that they're willing to do that. He doesn't worry about playing it safe. He's willing to go beyond a traditional naturalistic piece of acting. He's willing to be more theatrical, willing to be more operatic, willing to create performances that, however you feel about it, you're never going to forget that one. And he even goes on to talk about, like, we knew, like, this guy's running around in a bear suit and he's about to go punch somebody out. So we were aware of kind of the comedy at play, but harnessing that and really communicating those things on screen, I think it plays in contrast with trying to make a horror film, because I feel like environmentally, you get to the island, like you said, the music, the color of the film, it's like this very warm, like yellow orange color the whole time. It has a very creepy vibe to it the entire time. And so when you're trying to add in bits of maybe absurdist comedy while also trying to paint this picture of a very creepy, culty environment, it's very, very difficult to do that. And I can see how those things maybe didn't line up in production.
Right. Yeah, I can see that too.
And then Kate Beahan, who played Willow, she spoke very highly of Cage too. And she's like, having a person like that on set really like elevated all of our performances. And it feels like the people that were involved were really interested in the ideas that were being tossed around. And they really believed in the movie that they were making. And so it's always a different experience for me when I see a movie that gets this reputation of being bad, kind of makes the rounds, and then you hear the director being like, well, that wasn't my vision for it. Like someone who's excusing that the movie is bad and it's not their fault. Or like Michael Caine famously has this quote about him being in that Jaws movie where he's like, oh, I never saw the movie, but I saw the house that it bought my mother, and I really like that house. So there's a lot of stuff like that out there where you have creatives who want to excuse away their participation in something that is maybe considered less than. But I really love that in hindsight, nobody backed down from this. They're all like, yeah, this is the thing that we wanted to make. And I think the director even said like, well, people didn't like it, but you know, sometimes it's just how it goes.
That's just how it goes, man. Like, I think that's how you should look at a lot of things, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't make everybody happy, so why even try? Like, make the thing that you want to make, and at the end of the day, if people don't like it, at least you made the thing that you wanted to make.
Yes. And Nicolas Cage will always, he will work until he can no longer work. I appreciate that so much about him. He puts everything into what he does. Like, whether people like it or not, I think that he, you know, I respect that he puts so much work into the roles that he plays.
Yeah, he absolutely does. And even in this film, well, contextually, I'm looking at it like he was a big star, I think, at the time. And like, I mean, Ellen Burstyn is a well-renowned actress at that point. I think she had just been nominated for Best Actress a few years before that for Requiem for a Dream. So I think she even won for that. But Cage is coming from a place of like kind of superstardom when he's coming in to even play like a small character in what was originally like a folk horror story. And like the frequency that he's operating on is that of the Nick Cage that we know. And then a lot of the other people in the film are operating on the wavelength of a folk horror movie. And the juxtaposition, the contrast of those two ideas definitely causes some like rough edges with the movie. And if you're like really focused only on Cage's performance and you feel like it's too theatrical, like that's all you're gonna see. But I already sort of knew that was the case going in. Like it's very memed. We're all very well aware of that. So I was sort of watching everybody else, and I feel like there's a lot of really good, quiet performances in this film that surround him, despite the kind of performance that he is giving. And I think that's a testament to like what the vision of the original film was. And while a handlebar mustache seems insane for this character, like I kind of want to see it. He wore one in the movie The Old Way, where he's a cowboy. Yeah, it's like it came out like a year or so ago. I ended up watching it on a flight somewhere, and yeah, he's got like a crazy mustache, and I was like, Nick Cage, Western, insane mustache. I'm definitely gonna watch this. So he finally got to at least live his handlebar mustache dreams.
Yes, I love that for him.
Me too. All right, are you ready to head over to the bonus wheel?
Yes.
All right. This is where we get into some weird theoretical questions that this is like the best thing probably you could do with a movie like this is get these weird theoretical questions. All right. This is one of the classics, but it's one of my favorites. What snack would you pair with this movie?
popcorn and bourbon.
Ooh, okay. It's interesting. Is that one that you go to a lot?
No, not really, but it just kind of fits for this for me. Not normally. I would usually say wine, but
A little salty, a little sharp, a little crunchy. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. If you could be one character in this movie, you've already got the outfit on. Who would that character be and why?
Well, nobody that would be in this outfit. I would be Molly Parker, the teacher, actually.
And that was Miss Rose, Sister Rose?
Yeah, Sister Rose. Yeah.
That's a good one.
She's my favorite character of the whole movie.
Okay, I want to ask you a question about her specifically, right? There is a line reading in the film where she's talking to Nick Cage outside the classroom and she's being a little bit more forthcoming than a lot of the other people on the island. And he's asking her how Rowan died. And she says she'll burn to death.
Yeah.
And then he catches it and says, "What did you say?" And then she's going back inside. She said she burned to death.
Yeah.
And then later when Cage communicates that information to Willow, he says she burned to death. So I have the subtitles on, so I can see it spelled out. And I'm like, and then I went back and I'm like, no, she definitely said she will or she'll. And so obviously I think this is this indication that Rowan's still alive and that this is going to happen. And it's a little bit of foreshadowing. But for me, I'm like, how adept was the audience in the movie theater going to be in terms of communicating that information? Because Cage catches it, but then lets it go. And when she corrects herself, I don't know if there was just like not enough emphasis on the part where she's implying that she's going to die. And then Cage doesn't seem to question it after she course corrects before heading back inside. So I feel like it's like a very subtle thing where maybe if I was not even watching it with subtitles on, I might not have caught it.
Yeah. I always knew that I feel like I knew that it was like she will, like that is like that's what I thought was going to happen. So I mean that there was no question of that. And obviously I didn't have subtitles in the movie theater, but I figured she was still alive. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it was like a little bit of a hint to kind of string him along.
But it was definitely trying to like throw you off and obviously throw the character off, but throw off the audience. I feel like a lot, like I said at the beginning, like a lot of this is just to kind of like throw off the audience a lot. And then like after they see it, then they're just like, oh, okay, I see what was happening, you know?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. But yeah, I just wanted to ask since, you know, your favorite character said that line. You got
She's
two
such
more.
A bitch.
You got two more questions coming off the wheel. The first of those two is, what line of dialogue would you want to have on a t-shirt? And this can be ironically or unironically.
Like, oh god. Hold on, just 1 second. Let me think. Oh gosh, this is such a good question. And it's like, I'm sure there's something way better. Step away from the bike. No, I'm just kidding. No, I don't want to say not the bees. Like, come on, we've been talking about the bees for so long. Oh my gosh. I kind of want to say, like, honestly, because I live in Austin, I do kind of want a shirt that says step away from the bike, because these bike riders will just like come right in front of your car and just like cut you off and whatever. I just kind of would be like, step away from the bike. So sure. Since I live in Austin, why don't we put that on a shirt?
I take that. I feel like if I could make it a graphic t-shirt, it would be a different answer, right? Because if I had the graphic of him at the bar with the mug, the beer stein having just smashed the bee, where he just very straight face says, "I'm allergic."
Yeah.
I would like that. But if I just had to choose one line, I think that would be hard out of context.
So you would say I'm allergic?
If I could have the picture with him putting the cup down, yes, because then it's even weirder. But if it just says I'm allergic, I probably wouldn't do that. No. All right, we get one more.
I love these questions.
Yeah, I was hoping for more of the new ones. Maybe I'll spin it one extra time and see if we can get one of the new ones. That one was one of the new ones, though. So at least we got one. Okay, so you get to fan cast yet another version of this movie almost 20 years later. So give me actors for your big three roles. So this would be the Edward Malis character. This would be probably Sister Willow and probably Lord Summerisle, although Ellen Burstyn has a much smaller presence, I think, in this
So it has
film.
to be a dude for Summersisle?
No, it doesn't have to be. Whoever you
I don't like a lot of new actors.
make it all old people then. It's okay.
Okay. So for Malis, let's see.
Who's got the capability to be a big theatrical presence?
Is John Cusack still alive?
He is.
Okay, let's do him because I like him.
Yeah, he's making some very Nick Cage-esque career
He kind of has
decisions.
those looks and stuff. I hate that I have to ask if he's still alive because I don't know, so many people are dying lately.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
The last few weeks, it's a lot all of a sudden. So
yeah, it's always like that too. There's always
Well,
Anyways,
as far as I know,
right.
John Cusack is alive.
Okay, well, let's make him. Okay, let's make him Malis, and then for Willow. Let's do Margot Robbie because she's got those lips.
Okay, I like that. It's you're gonna get some butts in seats with Margot Robbie. It's a good choice.
Yeah, and she can bring in the crowd. And then so we're doing a dude for Summersisle.
If you want, you can cast another female lead in that role.
Because I was gonna say Glenn Close.
Ooh, yeah, she'd be great. She would need to have more screen time though.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's an excellent choice.
It's kind of like the Beetlejuice thing. It's like Summersisle doesn't even come into the frame until later on. You're like, who the hell is Sister Summersisle?
Yeah, and then by the time she actually shows up, it's not even those fast, scary edits or anything. Yeah. She's just normal, give or take.
But those are my choices, I think.
Okay, I like that. Let me see. I'm going to give you one more bonus spin because it's your first time. So
okay,
we'll see. Which one did you get? Okay. If you could ask one character from the film a question, who are you talking to, and what is the question that you're going to ask?
Oh my goodness. Let's see. I think I need to ask Sister Summersisle a question. Did you take the name from the island, or was the island named after you?
It's a good question. We don't get enough backstory with her.
Do we know?
If we have to pull knowledge from the previous version of the film, then it seems like it was a family name that was passed down, but that is not expressly told to us in this version of the film like it is in the original. That's a good question. I mean, that should have been probably one of the early questions from this police officer, but not a detective. I think, although it's not a main character, I would ask that woman that he walks in on who's covered in bees. What's going on here?
What is that scene all about? It's so random. I mean, a lot of stuff is random in the movie, but why? Was that just kind of her self-care routine? or
Yeah.
something.
What are those bees up to? Yeah, well, I started asking myself a lot of questions because in the original film, there's multiple instances of nudity, and in the sort of panic at the end when he's going through houses looking for the girl, he opens one of the doors and there's a woman bathing naked. And so I feel like that scene with the bees is meant to sort of mirror that scene from the original film, but like she's not nude. I assume she is under the bees,
Maybe
but
she was normally nude, but they wanted the rating to be, PG-13, so they covered her in bees.
Yeah, like add more bees here and there and make sure that we can get this past the what is it, the MPAA? Yeah.
Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah, it's so crazy. But yeah, let's get this to a PG-13 rating for some reason.
More bees. I mean, because I know the bees, like they play like a big role, and there's no honey, even though the bees are there. So like I was like, okay,
there's so many bees. Why are they low on honey? That like made no sense. I mean, I'm not a beekeeper myself, but is there just like a lack of like resources for the bees to like?
Well, I think because
I don't know.
I mean, look, I don't know if this explains it, but bees are like pollinating animals or insects, right? So
Yeah.
if there's no harvest and there's no fruit, then there's nothing for the bees to pollinate on to make honey. But again, this is like not explained. I guess, you need some knowledge of this in order to pull it off.
We need to ask, see, these are the questions we need to ask Summersizzle. Like she should know all this, right?
We got an awful lot of bees to have no honey. What's going on? I would also probably ask Melis, like, when you accidentally stumbled into the beehive colony, why did you run further into the colony to run away from the bees?
That is so funny. I realized that last night when I was rewatching it. And then after that, when he's talking to Sister Summersizzle, he's walking through the bees again. And he's just like slapping them like they're mosquitoes. He's just like slapping them on his neck and everything. But he's like so calm and so, he's still surrounded by bees. And he just keeps like putting himself in danger constantly.
Yeah, well, after he stumbles in there and gets stung to the point of like he's almost going to die, he doesn't reach for the EpiPen sooner, and he gets rescued. And I forgot who it was. It might have even been Summersizzle, where she says I don't think it was her. It was
Dr. Moss.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. And she says we took care of it the old way.
Yeah.
Or like the old fashioned way. And I was like, what is that?
What is that? Yeah, they don't explain it. They just show all these like bumps on him.
Yeah. So my guess is that there's a lot of stuff that explains some of those things that just didn't end up in the movie, which would also explain, like, the way she said it to him was like, if it was something simple where it's like a snake bite where you just like suck the poison out, that's an easy enough thing to just say rather than alluding to something that is like secretive. So, well,
it's the entire movie. They're secretive about everything.
Yeah, well, I am curious. We've got to ask the doctor too. Like, what is the old way of healing people who are stung very heavily by bees but allergic? Because I think that would be valuable information for people with allergies. But okay, well, we move on from the bonus wheel and we head over to more or less, and very simple. You just tell me one thing that you want more of from this movie and one thing that you want less of.
I want more of just for my own wants. I want more of Molly Parker and her character as the teacher. I know that that was like a one and done like scene and whatever, but I would have liked to see more of her just because I like her so much. And I would have had less dream sequences and flashbacks and stuff like that. Like, I just think that they overdid that. That's like my one complaint. They just like overdid the, truck hitting the girl and then the just different things. I mean, it was fine for a little bit, but then they just overdid it. So less of that. More
Okay.
Molly Parker.
That's fair. I think that's a reasonable request. I think especially given sort of the context of the film where you are looking for kind of like somebody with inside information to help guide our main character and by proxy our audience. She would have been a good choice. Like for me, I don't know. I guess maybe more explicitly absurdist humor, if that's really what the intention was.
If that's what they were going for, right?
Yeah.
Just to make it more obvious, maybe.
And then I would say maybe less, I don't know, this is going to be also sort of a more thing, but less secrets around the cult. Like, I understand you need to withhold that information from Cage and you want some mystery, but I was like really fascinated in the island and the rituals. And then I watched the original too, and I'm like, all this stuff is really fascinating. And I feel like this cop is kind of being a dick. So, like, I want to learn more about the old gods and how you cultivate your produce here and all of your processes. What was in that burlap bag? So just maybe a little bit less secrets, but yeah, again, that's
And you notice at the end, this is something that I totally didn't notice until I watched it last night, was the cop is part of the group, is part of Summersizzle. You probably already knew that, but I didn't realize she was part of it. Like the female cop
his
at the
friend.
beginning.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. That like blew my mind.
It makes sense in that she's the one who like gives him the letter, right? And so this was all not preordained, but like very planned out by this community. They targeted him a long time ago. We learned that Willow had gone and essentially marked him for this purpose at a later time. And I just feel like so much of the actual cult stuff is fascinating, and I've watched a lot of like docuseries and stuff on cult behavior as well. So because of that, because of my fascination with sort of cult mentality, I did want to learn more about like the island and its rituals. I feel like the character of the police officer who goes there is, especially because the story is sort of like a vehicle for him to just end up where he does. I feel like more enrichment of the surrounding environment, which Midsummer does a really, really good job with, of like building out the world around the people that visit there. And so it was nice to see that. I think it was Cage who mentioned that he had seen Midsummer. It's like, yeah, they did a really great job with like all these things that I wish like we could have done at the time. But so praise where praise is due. Is there anything that you really wanted to talk about that we did not yet get a chance to talk about?
Well, I mean, I feel like I mentioned throughout it, and I hope that I didn't cut you off at
No, you're fine.
Moment. I kept thinking about things that just, it's crazy when you rewatch a movie, like you just notice different things. And I think that, like, once again, the cop, I noticed her like at the end. I hadn't noticed her before. Just, just like little things that you notice like when you rewatch a movie. But no, I think that we pretty much covered everything.
Yeah, that's a good catch. I didn't really notice the cop myself. And then you mentioned, I'm like, oh, wait a second.
She was
there, wasn't she? Yeah.
She was there with the lady and the daughter that got hit by the truck too.
Yeah, everybody.
They were in the same line as if they were all in on that. I mean, they were obviously in on that situation that happened, which once again, we get back to what we were talking about before. Like, okay, so all of this was planned. So was the truck driver in on it? Like all this stuff. Yeah.
The truck driver must have been, because there was no reason for him to hurtle headfirst into that other car. And then the truck is nowhere to be seen after it crashes too. Like in his memory of the event, the car is burning, but it's not like there's a big rig slammed into the front of it either.
And like, I don't know. It's just like, I go back to if Edward was a part of this plan the whole time, why even have that scene? Like, why? I mean, why not just like tempt him to come to the island and, with the letter and everything? But why was all that other extra stuff? It just didn't make any sense to me.
It's a very convoluted plan in that we need to give him PTSD after
let's fuck him
his
up.
fiance leaves him. Yeah, we need him super desperate and fucked up and wanting to come here. So, hey, it works. They got what they wanted out of it.
They did, man.
Yeah.
So
it's a little wild.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now, I mean, we said some very nice, friendly things about this. But now we go to Critics Corner and we come crashing back down to earth as we read what the critics have to say. And before I get to the critics, I want to read a couple of user reviews that I pulled because I found them just funny and even though they're mean. But the first one says unbearable with bear spelled like bear, the animal. Says this is one of the funniest films I have ever seen. Essentially, Nicolas Cage plays himself and invades an island to assault a bunch of cult members and then scream about bees. Very cursory description of the film, leaves quite a bit out, but I'm glad that this person found it funny because I think that was the intention. Okay, we go to one more user review. This says, this has got to be one of the worst films, but it's spelled films. And I don't know if that's intentional or accidental. But it says one of the worst.
Check your spelling.
One of the worst films I've ever seen, and I've seen a few. It is slow, boring, amateurish, not even consistent within its own simplistic reading of the plot. The actors do not act. I can't blame them. They've been given a script of such utter banality. All they can do is trudge through it with a pain behind their eyes, which has nothing to do with the evils going on in Summersizzle. Pretty scathing. But yes, the films got me. I was like, okay.
That's hilarious.
But
I love when somebody's trying to like shit talk and they can't even talk.
Well, we're going to hear some more shit talking as we officially head over to the critics section. And this has a Metascore of 36. So again, low, and this is out of 100, not even 50. And we start at the bottom, as we always do, with the lowest score on the board, which is a 30 from the New York Times. And this is Dana Stevens. Says a movie like this can survive an absurd premise, but not incompetent execution. And Mr. LaBute, never much of an artist with the camera, proves also comically inept as a horror movie technician. It's neither haunting nor amusing, just boring. So, Dana Stevens.
Didn't you say that she's like the hard ass of the critics? Yeah, I remember you saying that on one of your podcasts.
Yeah, definitely have read Dana before. A lot of the time, the New York Times is Janet Maslin, who is a good critic, but also is very unkind. But again, this is Bad Movies We Love. Most of the things that we will read in the score section are going to be negative. And we will climb the ladder slowly. And we go to the next. We're going to jump over the 33 because we got two 38s on the board. And so you're going to have your option for which one you want. We've got the TV Guide magazine and the New York Daily News.
Let's do the good old fashioned TV Guide magazine.
TV Guide magazine. This is Maitland McDonough. Says there may be a way to remake 1973's cult thriller The Wicker Man, in which a deeply Christian cop has his religious convictions shaken to the core as he investigates the disappearance of a child from within a cheerfully pagan community, but Neil LaBute didn't find it. So, yeah, it's not a true to form remake of the 73 movie. Like, I think if you let that go and just be like, they're not trying to do that.
Yeah.
You can probably be more graceful.
Yeah, I feel like that's going to be a lot of the critics saying that it's not like the original. And it's like, we know that.
This is not that movie that I liked. Well, yes, no shit. If you want to watch that movie, just go watch that movie. It still exists. and you'll have a better time, apparently. Okay, we've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 40s on the board. So you're going to get to pick again. We got Film Threat, LA Weekly, The Hollywood Reporter, and Variety.
Let's go with Variety.
This is Joe Layden from Variety. It says, any provocative questions LaBute might have wanted to raise are totally obscured as the rising tide of absurdity gradually overwhelms the entire enterprise. And so, again, someone else pointing to the same thing. This is what we heard from the user reviews. But in hearing Cage and LaBute talk about this, like, the idea was to be even more absurd than the movie that we got. So I am really curious, had the movie been as off the wall as they really wanted to make it, handlebar mustache and burning bear suit and all, would it have been more well received as like a zany take on the Wicker Man?
Maybe they would have thought it was more self-aware or something like that. They could have always given it that. But yeah, I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, it wasn't ready to be meta yet. It was too early. Okay, we've got the LA Times on the board with a 50. There's no credited author for this either, so hiding behind the label of the Times. Says, in the end, LaBute's remake is an interesting idea that never transforms into a particularly satisfying movie. At least they gave it credit for being an interesting idea.
Yeah.
We've worked our way closer to the top. And then we close it out with the New York Post. Gave it a 75. 3 out of 4 stars from the Post. Says, profoundly disturbing, blood-chilling suspenser.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah. I've never really heard suspenser used as a noun, but
I never heard films either, but I guess you learn something new every day.
Yeah, learning new words. Look, we aim to please. This ain't smarter every day, but everything we can get, we take. Well, that's the end of Critics Corner. 75's pretty good. Pretty good way to close it out. I always like to go reverse order, so we end on a high note. But
yeah, I like that.
So now we get to the point of the show where you get to like flex your little recommendation cap, and it's time for the gateway drug movie. So what is a good gateway drug film for people who have never watched The Wicker Man, but are interested in what we've described and maybe want to take a chance on pushing play?
So this question is very difficult because I feel like The Wicker Man is the gateway film to a lot of folklore, cult films, things like that. Okay, so I will say this, like with a lot of movies like this, what is the big draw of the main character? They have to get like lured into something, right? Mm-hmm. So if I'm going to recommend anything that is maybe like similar to this or whatever, I wouldn't even call it like a gateway, but just like something that's a little bit similar. That's one of my other favorite movies is The Sacrament. If you've seen that, I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it's like they're I don't want to give anything away, but they're lured in. So like with The Wicker Man, it's like the kid's missing and he feels like obligated to go on this mission and things like that. So I'd say maybe like The Sacrament. But honestly, why don't you just raw dog it and just go in and watch The Wicker Man? And if you do want something that's very similar, why don't you just watch the original? But no, I would just like, honestly, I feel like this is like the starter film for films that are like that are like it. Does that make any sense? I don't know.
No, absolutely. Like I said earlier, this one has a lot more of like that Hollywood polish that almost removes it from being the kind of thing that makes folk horror films folk horror, is that like they don't have that polish.
Right.
So I think in that way, yes, you're right. Is that like if you want to like dip your toe in the water as a folk horror and you don't know where to start, Wicker Man is a good place to start, and that'll hopefully lead you to some other things. I think I'm gonna go with Apostle, which was the direct to Netflix Dan Stevens, Gareth Evans movie, which also is like just the person who ends up sort of in a cult location who's looking to rescue his sister, kidnapped sister. Right. So
which is like The Sacrament. So that's very similar. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got some similar vibes there. And I generally like Gareth Evans and Dan Stevens. So and plus you can just push play on Netflix. You don't have to like go out of your way too hard to find something. So yeah, if you like that, then go back another, 12 years and go Wicker Man and then just keep going back further and further until you end up at 1973 and watch the original Wicker Man.
Yeah, I just feel like The Wicker Man is the starting point, so it's very hard to like try to figure out like what you should start with, because I think that is the starting point. So that's honestly, I say just go into it.
Raw dog Wicker Man.
Yes.
Words of wisdom. Speaking of words of wisdom, I want to give you the opportunity to talk about your show, what you have on deck, where people can find you. I will make sure that all of that stuff is readily available in the show notes for people, but I want to give you the chance to, promote yourself.
So we are a new channel here on Aliens on Fire. We are a new channel, but we are constantly coming up with like new ideas and things like that. There is something that will be presented, shall I say, on our Instagram, which I will give that in a second here, that I'm not allowed to say anything about it.
Ooh,
but,
secrets.
Yeah, I'm not, I can't, but so we do have something exciting coming up in October. That's all I can say.
Okay.
Besides that, we're just going to keep putting out, videos about movies that we love. Our next one is going to be on Frankenhooker. That's one of my favorite
classic
movies. And you can find us on YouTube at Aliens on Fire. And I'm very embarrassed to say that the last podcast I was on, I said this incorrectly. I said _. Our Instagram actually is aliens dot, not underscore, dot, on dot fire. Okay. So I said our Instagram wrong on the last thing. And I also do want to credit my editor and assistant, because he is absolutely amazing. So on both YouTube and Instagram, you can find him at Alternate Form, and that is ALTERN84M. So you can find his YouTube channel and his Instagram on those, and he is absolutely amazing. I couldn't do any of this without him. So
awesome. Yeah, he does good work for your show. I was like, wow, there's a lot of editing work going on behind the scenes here to insert stuff and pull clips from other things.
What?
he sawed his way out of there for the evening. So hopefully he's having himself a good night on the town. Yeah, this has been a pleasure. I'm really glad we got the chance to do this. This is kicking off NicVember here on the show. And, I don't think I'd rather do it any other way. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. And I hope you have a good night.
You too. And I hope you had a good enough time where you'll consider coming back and talking about one of those other movies you pitched me. And we'll sort out a date for that, and we'll get it on the calendar in the not too distant future.
I'm so ready. All right. Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. Take care. My gratitude to Bethany, not just for coming on the show, but for getting dressed up for the episode as well. And also for being patient with me, because we initially recorded this episode months and months ago. But I am super excited to finally have this one out there for you. And if you had fun with us, make sure to check out Aliens on Fire, because Bethany and Timmy have a lot of fun making videos, and it's very clear that they're putting a lot of love and energy into those videos as well. So check out Aliens on Fire on YouTube and Instagram, and I'll make sure that I post the links for those up in the show notes. We are halfway through NicVember now, but we've still got Willy's Wonderland and Mom and Dad on deck, plus a special Thanksgiving bonus episode, not Nick Cage related, so stay tuned for that. And, of course, thank you to everyone out there who took the time to listen to this episode, or to any episode, honestly. I know there's a seemingly infinite number of options when it comes to podcasts, and I sincerely appreciate you letting me into your ears and hopefully into your hearts. In all seriousness, though, time is valuable, and I'm very grateful that you've entrusted me with yours. If you enjoy the show, please leave a review or at least a rating and tell a friend about it. If you don't, then maybe let's keep that between us. But the new members-only section is live at badmoviesweloved.captivate.fm/support. That link is also in the show notes, and I'd love to hear from you. So if you have a bad movie you love and would like to be a guest on the show, you can contact me at badmovieswelove@theshice.com or at badmoviesweloveluv on Twitter and Instagram. And until next time, take care, be well, and have fun however you get your movies. I know you're out there somewhere, Rids. I love you.